What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Now, today on the table in front of us, we've got something that I'm really excited about. This is more of a collection update than it is a knife that I'm going to suggest you run out and get. But if you like it, they are out there. This is the Gavko Mako, and this is a full custom. Now, when I got this, I didn't get a lot of information with it, and I assumed that it was one of the many mid-techs that he has made over the years. So I posted some pictures on Instagram, and lo and behold, Michael Gavik, the man behind Gavko Knives, popped up and said, "Oh no, that's custom." So I asked some questions, and here's what I learned. This is AEBL steel. This is a zirconium scale. The rest of it is titanium. And I love this thing. It is very comfortable. Now, these are expensive, ranging in price from around $500 up to, considerably more than that, depending on how you get it and what you get. This one in particular is what's called harpoonless. He tends to make his blades with a harpoon edge right here, and this one has a nice flat across the spine of the blade. I really enjoy that. It is just a marvelous knife. Now, this one has clearly seen some pocket time in somebody's life, and I like it for that too, because that means that I'm not afraid if I'm going to nick it or ding it or get some marks on it. I get to carry it, and that makes me very, very happy. The action is, well, just otherworldly. Very, very smooth. Very, very quiet. You can spidey flick it. You can use the flipper tab with great certitude and comfort. Everything has been knocked down. All of the sharp edges on the handle have been smoothed out and tumbled. It has what looks like a flag pattern on the scale on both sides, which is very cool. As you can see, the full titanium clip, backspacer, that runs all the way up is blue. This side is kind of a yellow gold, and on this side we've got the gray zirconium. The blade is a dark stone wash or acid wash in gray. And the other thing to know about this knife, and this is where the kind of custom thing really comes in, this thing is very slicey behind the edge. It is a real cutter. Now, why would I buy a knife that I didn't know a lot about? Well, I didn't. I actually got into a raffle on Instagram, and the people that were raffling it were very straightforward. They didn't have a ton of information on it. But the nice thing about this internet age is that you don't have to stop there. If you get something and you're not sure what you've got, usually the makers are available. And Michael Gavik is, while a busy man, very cool. That was a very nice interaction, and I was really glad that he popped up and shared the information on this knife with me. So what if you like his designs but don't want to spend between $500 and $2,000? Okay. Well, you can start over at drop.com. This is the Gavko designed Thresher. This was my first. This is, in fact, what inspired me to want this one. I love this knife. I do. It is comfortable. It is well made. It's we-made, in fact. It is S35VN. It is all titanium, running on bearings. It is just a spectacular pocket knife, and these are not that expensive. Or, if you want something bigger, you can go to the Blade Runner Systems, or BRS website right now, and get the Thresher XL. This is about $189. These come in below that, 180 or something. This, of course, is ridiculously expensive. But if you like his designs, the Gavko design, right now is a great time because there are two companies producing different variants of the same design in different sizes in the same materials for less than $200. And that, well, for the knife you get, that's a real win. Now, this is going to get its own review down the road. I still love this. But this thing, this is just absurd, and I love it for it. He has a very, very specific aesthetic with his knives, and this falls well into that category. You'll notice that the handle shape comes back down. That means that when you're holding it flat, the rise here is very much towards the cutting surface. So for draw cuts, this thing is fantastic. It has a wonderful flat with nothing interfering with the cutting path, so it is great for push cuts. Let's do some size comparisons just for fun. What should we compare it against? Well, here's my new small knife comparison knife, of course. This is the Benchmade, the Bug Out CF Elite, and as you can see, the Mako here is bigger. The Mako is not a giant knife, and I like that about it, because it's not a giant knife with a ton of blade. And of course, for a larger knife comparison, we'll go up against the Doug Ritter Hogue, which of course is designed very much like the full-size Griptilian. And if we line up the pivots, you can see that these knives are very similar in size. The actual stats on the Mako here go like this. Let's line that up so we can do it. You get 1, 2, 3, a little over 3.5 inches of cutting on 3 3/4 inches of AEBL steel. The grip area from just behind the flipper tab is 1, 2, 3, 4 and a little bit inches long. Let's take a look at what he did for blade stock here, shall we? Fire that up and move it over to millimeters. There we go. The thickest point back here, the thickest point I can get to, we're just over 4 millimeters of AEBL steel. I've been trying to practice doing the edge, and I'm not steady-handed enough to do it. I wish that I was. It would be very nice. But what I'm getting when I do it, yeah, I just don't have the hand for this right now. There we go. I mean, we're looking at 0.20. So 21 thousandths behind the edge, 20 thousandths behind the edge, if that. And I noticed that it's my hand, guys. I don't know how the other reviewers do that. To be honest with you, my hands are a little shaky by comparison, I think, to theirs. But here, let me tell you what I do know. I have a lot of knives, and after a while, you get a feel for what thin behind the edge means, and this thing is ridiculous. The overall knife is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5 inches long. If you're going to get into customs, and I'm not going to recommend that you do or not, that's a personal choice. Some people hear the prices that these things go for and say, that's ridiculous, and they're not wrong. But there's a difference. This is a phenomenally well-made knife. It is. It feels good. It is comfortable. It is fantastic, and it's less than $200. But this was made by hand by someone with an interest in making a very particular knife in a very particular way. And the differences show up in small but noticeable ways once you've had a chance to hold them. If you're going to get into customs, which is where I started to go, find a designer that you really like. Get a chance to hold some of his work or their work or her work. Make sure that you've had that opportunity. I held a couple of these at Blade Show East and West, so I knew what I was getting into. Because it is a real investment. Now, there are some knife collectors out there. Instagram is just loaded with them, with, knife collections that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I'm not that guy. I do have a lot of knives, but in that area, my knives are still fairly budget. I think most of my knives cost below $200. Some of them are above. Some of them are considerably more than that at this point. But my overarching knife collection is probably still pretty budget friendly. So to get into something like this requires kind of a commitment or a lot of luck in a raffle. Do not play the raffles on Instagram. But if you do, shoot for the stars. Go for something you really like. You maybe surprise yourself and win. I know. I was shocked when I won this thing and very happy about it. I love this knife. I don't have any inclination to sell it. Often when I get something like this, I start thinking about how much I could make for it, and what other knives I could buy, and all of that stuff cycles into my thinking. But I'll tell you, I have had this thing in my hand and in my pocket since the moment I got it, and I have no interest in moving this along. Will I be careful with it now that I know it's a full custom and not a mid-tack? Yes. Yes, I will. Is it perfect? Well, no. Somebody owned it before me, and so there's some dings on the zirconium, and some of the ano has kind of worn off, particularly on the clip. The blade is flawless, and it has what I call a problematic pocket clip. I don't know if I have anything. Yes, I do. That's this. When this thing is in the pocket, you have that much knife sticking up. Now, would I have liked it if the pocket clip was a little higher? I sure would, but then it would have run into these backspacer screws, so I understand why it is the way it is. On the other hand, the pocket clip is fantastic. This thing slips in and out of the pocket as well as any knife I own. I love this thing. And I'm really glad I got to share it with you guys. And I'm really glad it's in the collection. So once again, this is the Michael Gavko made Gavko Mako harpoonless in AEBL steel with a really nice zirconium showside scale. This is a great addition to the collection. I hope you guys have enjoyed taking a look at it. I certainly know I have enjoyed having it and learning about it. I very much have enjoyed sharing it with you. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about any of the Gavko knives you've seen today, or of course any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And please like the video on your way out. It does help the channel. We'll see you next time.